Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Way too long. Way too long. Kept the people waiting. I do wonder about the people. The podcast app that I use to listen has a thing where it will eliminate silences. If there's a silence of a couple seconds, it'll just chop it out and just keep the conversation going just to kind of keep things moving. I do wonder if there are people who have that setting on who are like, what are people talking about? What pause? What do you mean? What are you talking about? But yes, some of your best work. Tony, it's time for some of our worst work. It is the bold prediction show. It's people like these for some reason. I haven't figured it out, but people like these to the point that we are getting suggestions on ways to modify the show and make it more stupid and convoluted. So I'm always in favor of that. So do you want to hear the suggestion that I got last week?
Give it to all of the people. Let us know what this suggestion is that can only make this show better.
All right. This is one that I've kind of heard at times in the past, but my buddy Mike mentioned it during the Ohio State Western Michigan game a couple weeks ago. And it was this. We have the friendlies at the end where we give each other, hey, Ohio State's going to run for at least 10 yards. And we're basically giving each other a point. His suggestion was, if you fail on one of those, so if I give you one that's Ohio State scores at least 6 points this weekend, Ohio State fails to score 6 points, then you get 3 points. You get 3 points for me failing in my attempt to give you a free point. The twist that I would suggest we add to that is if you hit a friendly exactly, you get 10 points. So if I give you Ohio State will score exactly 37 points on Saturday and Ohio State scores exactly 37 points, I would get 10 points. If they don't score 37 points, you would get 3 points. Now, this would all be predicated on the idea that you could reject that, because if I say Ohio State will get 0 safeties on Saturday, well, very likely Ohio State's going to get 0 safeties. So you would be able to reject it. Now, I realize we're running the risk of taking a stupid and overly complicated show and making it even more stupid and overly complicated. But to that, Tony, I would say, do you understand what our brand is on these shows?
Yeah, either get with us or get lost, because we're going to convolute this thing as much as we can. So I'm okay with that. It doesn't mean we're going to use it this week. It all just depends on whether or not through the course of the show you feel like I am already losing. I need to swing for the fences. I have already allowed Tom to get us several half pointers in here, and I have no longer the ability to fight. So it's like, I'm just going to put it all in the bottom of the ninth. I'm going to swing for the fences on this friendly, and I'm going to say Ohio State scores 49 points, and knowing that there's a chance that I'm going to get that one right. But we'll get there when we get there. First time, to let everybody know what happened last week, I believe we tied 2-2, just so you know. We each got the friendly. And then the one that you got right was that there will be at least 9 rushes of 10 yards. I believe we confirmed that on the live show last week. The one that I got correct was that Western Michigan would have at least 2 quarters with 0 third downs converted. They did not convert a third down in the second half, which encompasses, Tom, 2 full quarters. Other than that, we weren't great, but that just means that's how bold we were. That's the name of the show. I don't know what people want.
Means we're due, Tony. That's what it means. I will, in the spirit of friendliness, allow you to take the first pick.
All right. Now, here the problem that I have is I've got a bunch of 2s and some 4s. So I'm going to have to dummy them down a little bit and see if we can maneuver some things. But my first one here is TreVeyon Henderson, Ohio State senior running back, has 131 yards rushing on the season. I am saying in this game, he has at least 132 yards rushing.
So he has 131 on the season, and you think he will have 132 on Saturday? Yeah,
yes.
I think that's a good one. That's a number where you don't expect a guy to hit that at any point, really. That's not a number that you typically see guys average. And this year, with the combination of TreVeyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins probably splitting the first half carries, and the fact that this is a game where likely one or both of those guys is out and not coming back by the middle or end of the third quarter, it's 132 yards in probably about a half of three quarters. So he needs to hit a big one and then have average about 6-7 yards a carry. Otherwise, 10 carries, 130-ish yards.
He's going to need a big
60-yarder. You average about 7 yards a carry in the other ones. Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's a good one. That's
his season high last week, or this season high this year is 66 yards. So I'm also predicting him to double that. He's 65 yards rushing in the first game, 66 yards rushing in the second game. Tom, if these trends continue, so you look at Quinshon Judkins last week or 2 weeks ago, he would have hit that number, but he needed that 80-yarder that got called back. That was also a pass. If I'm going to be in the press box, Tom, I will have the ability again. If it looks like it's a forward pass or it's a lateral, I will be able to enforce my knowledge upon the actual scorekeeping and be like, no. TreVeyon, that was clearly a lateral that was behind the line. That was a backwards pass. That was not a swing pass. I'm going to need that to be a rush.
People in the press box will be saying the wheel route is undefeated. And Tony will be saying, I am also undefeated because even though it was a wheel route 20 yards down the field, I convinced Jerry that it was in fact a lateral and therefore a rush. So, outside of your general skullduggery, I will allow that. Hopefully you keep things within the spirit of the game.
Nope.
How about this one, Tony? Last week, Marshall's A.J. Turner averaged 17.2 yards per carry against Virginia Tech. This was not, I guess, last week. This is the last time they played, which is 2 weeks ago. Averaged 17.2 yards per carry. Marshall's long run of the day is under 17 yards. So the long run of the day for Marshall is under the average of their leading rusher from the last game they played.
I really don't like this one because it's a pretty good one. And Ohio State to this point has given up. Do you know how many 20-yard rushes Ohio State has allowed this year?
I do not.
I'm going to tell you in one moment, because I don't think it's many. It is 0. They've given up one rush of 10 yards this season, Tom. So this one feels to me like I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the numbers. The 17 being in there is fantastic. But you're going to have to remove one of those numbers, either the 1 or the 7, whichever one.
How about they allow no more than one play from scrimmage of 17 yards or more?
I can, I'm
because I believe Western Michigan had a couple passes of 20-ish yards last week, and Akron, I'm sure, had a couple as well.
Here's another issue, and the stats only measure 10, 20, 30, so I don't know how many of 17. Ohio State's defense has allowed just one play of 20 yards this season. So, again, I don't know how many of those are the 8, 10-yard plays. I don't know how many of those are 18, 17, or if they're all 11. I would say I'm going to be okay with this one just because at some point they got to start giving some things up. I don't like it. I'm acquiescing already because we do need to eventually end the show. But they're giving up 4 plays per game of at least 10 yards. So I don't know how many, like I said, I don't know how many of those are 17. So without the ability to tell you how wrong and how unbold this is, I'm going to assume there's some 17-yarders in there. And we'll say, you're saying no more than one 17-yard play from scrimmage. I don't think that's an outrageous, I think that's kind of bold because it should happen over the course of the game. I mean, if Ohio State's defense is playing very well, but still, that's let's credit both, Tom, let's credit both you and the Ohio State defense here. And let's never do that again where you're involved. So I will allow this one, no more than one play of 17 yards from scrimmage. And we'll find out just how unbold that is, or how much I should not have just completely said, maybe I should not have caved on this one. But I mean, that's indicative of a very good defense having a very, very good day. And maybe that's what Ohio State will do, but let's see it. One play of 17 yards from scrimmage. Okay. Anything else to add to that, Tom?
You're up next.
All right. Understanding that I just completely gave you that one. No, I'm not going to go there just yet. How about this one? We'll see what you think here. Ohio State will have at least one quarter of this game, one full quarter, averaging at least 10 yards per carry.
10 yards per carry. Okay. So.
And I can't give you, the numbers on if they've done that this year. What I can tell you is right now they are averaging 6.2 yards per carry for the season. All carries, big or small. I'm saying at least one of those quarters, they will average. Here you go. Here are their average yards per carry per quarter so far. I found it. 6.1 in the first, 7.3 in the second, 7 in the third, 4.5 in the fourth. So I don't see any one of those being a 10 yard per carry quarter because I don't see one of those being a 4. Like the second quarter where they're averaging 7.3 yards, I don't think they averaged 4 yards in one of those games and 10 yards in the other. I feel like it's pretty even. So I think 10 yards, they haven't done it. We can just assume that safely.
And I think that's a fair one because I just checked Marshall allowing 3.08 yards per carry. So that's 38th in the nation. That's not bad. So yeah, I will allow that. And this is one where does Ohio State get an 80-yarder? Is really what this is. Or does Ohio State get a 60-yarder and then average 5 yards a carry on a bunch of other carries? That's really what we're talking about here. I think this is one where I don't know if it's a coin flip to happen, but it feels like it's a decent possibility of happening, 25, 30%, something like that. But also, I will have to allow it because they haven't done it yet this year. Marshall is not a terrible rush defense, so I think that's a viable one. And then I'm really hoping you get in a scenario where you have to go up to Jerry and argue that actually that TreVeyon Henderson one, I guess it wouldn't be conflicting. You're hoping for lots of rushing in both ones. So maybe you can convince him to change the pass to TreVeyon Henderson to a run, but also or the pass to Quinshon Judkins to a run, but also it was a run by TreVeyon Henderson and you just didn't see the right number on the jersey. Maybe that's how this plays out.
I am putting several eggs in the TreVeyon Henderson basket here, but he is due to break one, and I think it will happen this week. So that's why I'm going, basically, these two are tied together, I think, pretty clearly for me.
All right. So we've made the people wait long enough. Tony, what does everyone want to hear?
Jeremiah Smith.
Tony, I've got great news. My next one's about Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith meets or exceeds his career highs in 3 of the 4 major categories. So that would be 6 catches, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns, long of 70. So he would have to meet or exceed those numbers in 3 of the 4 categories.
Yeah, I'm going to allow that, even though we've got a small sample size, but the samples are pretty significant. So yeah,
he's put up impressive numbers in both games, and I feel like catches and yards are entirely possible. 2 touchdowns, you almost never pick someone to get 2 touchdowns in a game. That a lot of times is just as a standalone is enough. And the long of 70, I think honestly the long of 70 is the one that is the least likely to get met. That's the one that I kind of look at and go, he could have 6 catches for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that would be a very good game. The long of 70 is just maybe he just pops one long one and doesn't score a touchdown. It only scores 1 touchdown, but that kind of gives me a little bit of a trapdoor if he only has 1 score.
But if you could get any of those 4 right out of the gate, that 70-yarder can carry you a long way because it's probably going to be a touchdown. It's probably going to lead to a career high in yards. So you would only need maybe 3 or 4 catches to hit all of those metrics. So I will allow this begrudgingly. Nobody wants to see this happen. I think we would all agree that this is not something that people are looking forward to. But maybe Tom and his family would like to see Jeremiah Smith meet or exceed 3 of his 4 career highs in just his 3rd game as a Buckeye. So, all right, that's a good one-pointer. Tom, I don't know how you're going to feel about this one, so I'm just going to put it out there and see what you think. Ohio State will have more points. Will have a quarter where they score more points in that quarter than Michigan scores all game against USC.
So you're asking me if Ohio State's going to have a quarter where they score 13 points. That's what I'm hearing here.
That's where it comes down to, what do you think Michigan is going to do? And for me, I kind of have Michigan at like, I don't think 13, maybe 17, but it's like, well, how are they going to get to 17? It's like maybe defense. So then it becomes Ohio State having like a 21 or a 24 point quarter. And that's why I was like, they've done it.
I'll tell you what, I'll take this one with Ohio State doing it in 2 quarters. If you want to, I always offer when you feel that I'm being insufficiently bold to give you mine. So I am volunteering to take this at double what you are. Now it's a very creative one, so I will be willing to share one of mine with you, and we can tweak it as necessary. But I would be willing to take that as Ohio State scores more points in 2 quarters than 2 individual quarters than Michigan does in their full game against USC.
No,
I hear 3 quarters, Tony.
No, over. Or
are you willing to take 2 quarters? If you'd like to take 2 quarters, you can take that one as well.
All right, let's do that. Over the course of 2 quarters.
No, that's not. No. In 2 individual quarters, Ohio State scores more points against Marshall than Michigan does in their entire game against USC. Frankly, I think even at 2 quarters, this is decently likely to hit. Maybe the Michigan defense gets a touchdown. Maybe they score some points at the end of the game. Maybe they do to USC what Arkansas State did to them last week. But that feels like Michigan is not that likely to score more than 20 points, say 21 points, and Ohio State is going to do that at some point in the game, and it's just a matter of whether they do it twice. And Ohio State has to score more points than Michigan does. Yes, not greater than or equal to, greater than. Okay.
Right. And this is where if Michigan only scores 13, I'm almost certainly golden. Yes. But it's that if they get to 21, which I kind of see them around, like I said, 17 or so. Now I've been listening to some Michigan podcasts, so I've been told they're just gonna run the ball, and Tom smash is the word of the day. But two quarters of 21 points, I think is, Marshall they used to be a national power in the FCS.
Yeah, they used to be, yes. Let me just pull up USC's. USC is 77th in the nation in average yards per rush allowed, 4.17. So there you go. So it is possible. It is possible, Tony, that the stopped clock of Michigan podcast is right in this case. But we will see. My next one, and this is one, Tony, that we talked about on the show last night on the live show from the Woody Hayes. Denzel Burke has an interception, and you have already agreed to this, so you can just go ahead and spend the next 30 seconds telling me how bold it is, and then we can move on.
Well, I think the thing is, we talked to Denzel Burke on Wednesday, and he was in a mood, and we saw the mood, and then you're like, immediately, I want to boldly predict that he's going to have an interception. That's not a bold prediction. That's just a reaction. This is not bold reactions. This is not the reaction show. This is bold predictions. So I feel like I'm going to allow it just because, but it's not a bold prediction. It's just an overreaction to an interview, Tom. I think you should be embarrassed. You should be saddened, sullied. And can I have this one?
Well, you said you were going to take Denzel Burke for a pick 6 for 3 points. And if you want to take this one, I will take Denzel Burke for a pick 6 for 3 points. If we want to just swap those two, I'm 100% fine with that.
No, we're obviously we're going to allow this. Anytime you predict somebody to have an interception, it's there are no arguments, even though there may sometimes be some arguments. But he is he's not due because he already has one this year. But I know he is. We all know he's raring to go to get after this one. Looking forward to it. So that one we will allow. We've already agreed to it in public, so I can't back out now. We should only do these things behind closed doors. My next one, Tom, and I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but it has not happened it hasn't happened in 53 weeks. That was the last time it happened. 53 weeks ago, Emeka Egbuka scores a touchdown at home. His last
That
scores,
feels impossible that it's been 53 weeks since he scored a touchdown at home.
He scored against Michigan, and he may have had a touchdown in the. No, I don't think he had a touchdown in the Cotton Bowl. But yeah, it's been a while, and so that's why I'm saying, hey, if something hasn't happened in a year, not that we've agreed that that's always going to be allowed, but that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I think
one touchdown. He's had one touchdown since September 16th.
Yeah,
and that was in the Michigan game.
I have to allow this. This is one that's like, it feels like it's basically a coin flip, but it probably would have felt like a coin flip in any game that he was healthy in from then until now, and he hasn't missed that many games. So I will have to allow this one. I am extremely upset that I did not find this one myself, but that is a very good one.
They're the best ones.
They are the best ones are the ones where you feel a mixture of anger and disappointment at yourself. Those are the ones where if I'm angry at Tony, that means Tony's done something wrong. If I'm angry at myself, that means Tony has done something really well. And
we hate that.
Believe it or not, against all odds, that does happen from time to time. All right, Tony, how about this one? Since the start of the 2023 season, Ohio State has never held any team under 40% completions. Last year against Purdue, it was exactly 40%, 14 for 35. Against Rutgers, it was exactly 40%, 10 for 25. The last time they held a team under 40% was Indiana in 2022. That was 38% on 9 for 24. Just to put this in perspective, they have been involved in two games that were basically natural disasters. One was the wind game at Northwestern in 2022. The other was the Brian Ferentz calling Iowa's offense in 2022. Neither of those did they hold a team under 40% in terms of completions. So with all that being said, Tony, Ohio State holds Marshall to 34%. And we're going to round this down, 34.4% rounds down, but 34% completions or less on Saturday.
I was hoping you were just going to stick with the under 40 so that I could remind you that the last time Marshall played 2 weeks ago, they completed 36.1% of their passes. But by you going below that and saying, I think this Ohio State defense is 2.6% better than Virginia Tech, who am I to argue? That's a wide margin, but 30, completing basically a 30 of your passes. And well, let's see what happens with Michigan and USC. Before we start talking about how crazy that is, but 30. Are you saying 34.4%? Is that the number you have settled on?
34.4% or lower, just because we always round these numbers. So 34.5% would round up to 35. 34.4% would round down to 34, which, as we know, is one of those numbers that always.
Now, Tom, I know you think I'm just going to argue for the TreVeyon Henderson stuff in the press box. Now, I have the other side of the ball to argue about, that was that was a touch pass. I know sometimes they miss this and think it's a handoff, but that was actually a little tossed pass. So you're going to want to.
I figured you'd be banging on the door of the replay booth. Did you see that ball? He got his hands under that ball. Do you not know what a catch is? What's wrong with you people?
To be fair, I can't say what a catch is anyway. So who am I? That's not really. You don't need to know anything to argue. I think we understand that. I mean, welcome to the show.
We have Twitter accounts. We know that's true.
So my next one, Tom, I have this as a one pointer, but it just happened 2 weeks ago. So we're going to have to modify it in some way, unless you're fine with it. But I have a tight end scoring a touchdown. Now, we saw Bennett Christian do that in the fourth quarter. So if we want to make it just the first 3 quarters, or it's maybe I pick 3 tight ends that it could possibly be. I was going to go just Jelani Thurman touchdown, but that's more of a 2, because he's had 3 catches in his entire career, 2 catches in his entire career. He doesn't have a catch yet this year. So tell me what kind of I want. It is the year of the tight end. A record 7 tight ends played 2 weeks ago. I'm calling it a record. I don't know if it is, but find me the time when 8 tight ends played in a game for Ohio State. They're going to score this week what kind of tell me the ramifications, the metrics, the guidelines that I need to make this a 1-pointer.
How about this? I will remove one tight end from the list, and I will remove one quarter from the list.
Okay.
How about
that? Works.
All right. I will remove G. Scott, and I will remove the third quarter.
Oh,
any Ohio State tight end other than G. Scott catches a touchdown in any quarter other than the third quarter.
Now, can he catch it in the library with a candlestick?
Is there I don't remember, is there a secret passage from there to the conservatory? If so, then yes. If not, then no. I can't remember. It has been a minute since I played Clue.
Okay,
so
let me type all this in.
Yeah, this is, and people sitting at home wondering, why do they say this show is stupid and overly complicated? Well, I don't know. We're both, sometimes we just say stuff and it doesn't mean anything. It's okay.
Most times.
We don't want you to feel like it's stupid and overly complicated. Tony, here's one. This is another one where I think this is probably going to turn into an auction. The smile, the closed eyes, the sad shake of the head, Tony, tells me you know where this is going. Tony, what is my white whale on this show? The thing that I always try and never somehow succeed, no matter how likely it seems.
220 yards rushing, 220 yards passing for the Buckeyes.
So I am going to offer 240 yards rushing and 240 yards passing for the Buckeyes, and I will offer you the opportunity to bid that up. But if you bid it up and you end up winning, you have to take it as your fifth single point.
I'm just looking, because what did they do last week? They hit that last week or 2 weeks ago.
I think
right?
they ended up right at 240, I believe, last week.
Let's see what we got here. 273 and 410 last week, and it was the first time in a very, very long time that they've done it. So I'm feeling pretty good about my 2-pointer. And Tom, not that I'm rooting for you. Gosh darn it, are we rooting for you to get this one? It feels like, again, how many times do we talk about this? It feels like this should be the week that it happens for you. I think 220 is almost a given. The running game is going now. Because here's the thing, Tom, I don't have to bid it up. You've already set the rules. I can just take something, but then you would have to bid it up. So, but I'm not going to do that. 240 sounds like a sure thing. 250 is like, 250 yards rushing. You know, maybe they settle at 225 because they want to throw the ball around in the second and in the fourth quarter. You know, you got Charles Huff, tampering for the players for Buckeyes, and maybe Ryan Day. Remember what happened with Mike Locksley? Got Chase Young suspended. You come after Ryan Day's players, he's going to put a hurting on you. So I'll allow you to have 240, Tom, knowing that I just gave you a free point.
Tony, your benevolence knows no limits whatsoever.
That's about it. That one right there. That is the limits. Here's one for you, Tom. Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State, sophomore, has 2 touchdown catches in his career. I'm saying in this game, he equals his career total of 2 touchdowns.
I have to allow that one. I think this is an interesting gambit by you, because now you've got Emeka Egbuka scoring 1 and Carnell Tate scoring 2, and I think
tight end.
Plus a tight end. Yeah, that's a lot of touchdown passes going to people who are not Jeremiah Smith, who we've already established is going to meet or exceed his career high of 2 touchdowns himself. So feels like this is a real opportunity for you to predict Will Howard to throw for 7 touchdowns. But either way, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, 2 touchdowns for a guy who has 2 career touchdowns. Absolutely, I've got to say yes. That's absolutely a great one. So yes, I will allow that one.
Don't forget my long TreVeyon Henderson rush too. That's probably going to be a touchdown.
Oh, man. Ohio State's either going to score enough points that they require scientific notation, or Tony's not going to do very well this week. One of the two.
What could it be?
Which one could it be? All right. So how about this one, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be, Tony, what do we love on this show? Long and overly complicated. We're going to parlay two things that are completely unrelated here. Okay. Completely unrelated. Tony, did you know that Mike Green of Marshall is averaging 1.75 sacks per game, most in the nation? He has 3.5 sacks through 2 games. I'll give you that. I will tell you that Marshall has had exactly 4 sacks in each of its first 2 games. 8 sacks in 2 games. Okay, part 1 of this, they have 0 sacks this week, okay, after getting 4 sacks in each of the previous 2, including the leading sacker in the entire United States of America. That's one piece of this. On offense, Marshall had 4 red zone possessions last week. They will have 0 red zone possessions this week. So you've got two completely unrelated things that both have to happen and both have to be after 1 week after they did these things 4 times against Virginia Tech, they're going to do each of them 0 times against Ohio State.
That's amazing, Tom. That is tremendous. Do you know how many defenses have allowed 0 red zone possessions nationally this year?
It's Ohio State. No, I think technically there was a team that had that did get into the red zone and then had a penalty or something and didn't actually get a snap in the red zone. Is that correct? Didn't there with Akron or no?
Well, there are people who have said, didn't Akron get in there? But the official stats say no, they did not. So you're saying that they're going to do something that they're not going to do something that has not been done, which is a tremendous job on your part. And then also Ohio State's not going to get sacked by Marshall. Do you know how many sacks Ohio State has given up this season, Tom, by chance?
They have given up 2 sacks. Marshall has given up 3 sacks.
Okay. And you're saying Marshall won't sack them? Is that what you're saying?
Marshall will not sack them, and Marshall will not reach the red zone. Here's the other choice. I can give you this one as well. Ohio State and Marshall both have exactly 8 sacks in 2 games. And as we said, Marshall has allowed 3. Ohio State has allowed 2. So very similar sack numbers through 2 weeks. Ohio State, but they both have 8 sacks in 2 games. Ohio State outsacks Marshall by at least 4 sacks on Saturday. How about that? Is that better for you?
Well, I mean, no, because Ohio State outsacked Akron by 4 or 5. So I don't like any of these things because they're all like minus 700, so you parlay that and you're like at minus 300. And I need something more, Tom. I think, although, as we know, any sack predictions are immediately going to fail. But I get worried about this being a 2-pointer for you because keep going.
How about this? Tony, I always come prepared. 4 Ohio State running backs, not Will Howard, not Devin Brown, 4 Ohio State running backs with a rush of at least 17 yards.
Okay. All right. Now, all 4 running backs have. I don't think James Peoples has had that yet, but we know Sam Williams-Dixon did.
He has not. No,
certainly not in the same
3
game.
of them did it against Western Michigan. If you'd like, I will even add one of them has a rush of more than 34 yards.
No, 17. I'm nothing if not fair. So I will allow this one. I like this one. This is one that I would consider as well. And I had something similar, the last game as well. So we're good with this one. Now, Tom, moving on to my first 3-pointer, I am predicting something that has only happened twice in the past 7 years. How do you feel about that?
I feel like I'd like to hear the end of this paragraph.
Brandon Inniss will have at least 90 total total return yards in this game. The team currently has 89 on the season as a whole. So I'm saying he's going to eclipse the season total by everybody and also do something that only Emeka, Egbuka, and Johnny Dixon have done in the last 7+ seasons.
This is not punt return. This is total return.
Yeah.
Kickoff and punt returns. I think I'm going to allow this one, even though it feels like that's a little bit more of a statistical quirk. I don't think they're going to have many yards on kickoff returns just because I don't think Marshall's going to be kicking the ball off a lot.
Lots of fair
and
catches.
While they're going to be punting, you're going to have some fair catches. You're going to have some short returns. You really are looking at this is not a terrible proxy for is going to return a punt for a touchdown. I am looking right now to see where Marshall. Oh, Tony,
they did give up a punt return touchdown.
There are what's that?
I think Marshall did give a punt return touchdown to Virginia Tech.
Yes, there are only 7 teams in the entire United States of America that have given up a play of a punt return of 50 plus yards, and Marshall is one of them. So I like it in theory,
but I hate it on you.
But I hate it because of the Marshall punt return already have sort of established there's not a great unit there, or they're at least possible to pop one. And it feels like it's likely that Brandon Inniss will pop one at some point. How about this? Tony, how about this? I will allow it with the caveat that if there is more than one return of 17 yards or greater, the second highest does not count.
Oh, I'm gonna.
You know what? No. That's not fair. I'm gonna modify this because I think that would make it very, very difficult unless he pops about an 80 yarder. So if there's more than one return of 34 yards, the second one does not count.
How about this? If there are 3 returns of at least 17 yards, the second one doesn't count.
3 returns of at least
17 yards.
17 yards.
So they got the second longest one.
Okay, so if there's 3 returns of 17 yards, the second longest will not count. I feel obligated to accept that. Because otherwise we are going to be here forever and we're already at 37 minutes and I haven't done mine yet and I haven't figured out what my friendly is either. So I feel obligated to accept that. And once again, I don't know why people feel that these shows are overly complicated and or stupid.
If 3 of 17 yards, the second longest must be redacted. Outrageous.
All right. So Tony, I'm going to give you 2 different things that have only happened 2 times in the entire history of Ohio State football, going back to 1890, which I think we can both agree is a long time ago.
Long time.
Devin Brown, in his entire Ohio State football career, has only thrown 2 touchdown passes. G. Scott, in his entire Ohio State football career, has only caught 2 touchdown passes. I say on Saturday, Devin Brown throws a touchdown pass, necessarily to G. Scott. G. Scott also catches a touchdown pass, not necessarily from Devin Brown. And I will tell you, G. Scott has never even averaged a catch per game in any season in his career, including this one. He's never averaged a catch per game, which is, I thought that was a remarkable stat when I found that one. But so a Devin Brown touchdown pass and a G. Scott touchdown catch, 2 things that they have both been around for quite a while, Tony, and they've only happened twice ever in each of their careers.
I mean, the odds of this parlay would be a pretty good payoff. So one of mine, I was thinking like, what about Devin Brown 2 touchdown passes? It's like, no, let me trick Tom with the Brandon Inniss thing instead. So it's like neither one of these would each one of these be worth 2? No.
If you're arguing that this should be worth 4, I will allow it. No. But I think, and really the fact that it's 2, you're parlaying them. It's really more worth like 5, 6, 8. But
I do think it's interesting. Would 2 1-pointers parlayed become a 3? Is that kind of, because I think that's where we are with these 2.
You think a Devin Brown touchdown pass is a 1-pointer and a G. Scott touchdown reception is a 1-pointer? Because you wanted every tight end scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't see the correlation. I don't see the point. I'm going to allow this one. I don't care for it, which again, as we know, So G. Scott, not out, but this time, if Devin Brown throws the touchdown to G. Scott, it is negated.
I will allow you a 6-minute window of the game to.
Okay. My 6 minute. Are you writing this down or no?
I am. You know I am.
All right. So G. Scott touchdown and Devin Brown touchdown. The touchdowns cannot intermingle, must not intermingle from the, let's say, from the 4-minute mark of the third quarter to the first 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
And if Devin Brown throws a touchdown pass to someone else during that time, that would still count. It's just if those two guys connect on a touchdown between 4 minutes in the third and 13 minutes in the fourth. Okay.
This is so stupid. Great job, Tom.
That felt like great teamwork right there.
No, it's one of those teams that hates each other and then somehow wins, World Series and then they never speak. Like, I am Jeff Kent. Now, are you Jeff Kent? I don't know. Anyway.
One of us is Billy Martin and one of us is Reggie Jackson. And I know which one I think I am, but I don't know. We'll see.
So I'm just going to go ahead. This show is already complicated enough. I'm just going to give you a friendly. With the Buckeyes have a tackle within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. And that would include tackles for loss.
Yes. Yeah. Within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. For 2 yards gain, 2 yards loss, or any number between there. All right. That's a good one. Ohio State scores points in at least 2 different quarters, Tony.
Okay. Scores points in at least. And again, if you miss it, then this is a 3-pointer for me? Okay.
Correct. And if they score exactly 2 quarters, well, I said at least. So I guess at least. All right. So yes.
Are you shooting the moon on this one? Is that what you're trying to do here? Or is this just
no?
Okay.
No. Yeah. See, the problem is that's the problem. I don't want to. I'll have to change this. Let's see. Well, I think because I'm saying at least, I can't.
Right.
This can't be an exact one. So no, I can't. I cannot shoot the moon on this one because I'm saying at least. I'm not saying exactly.
All right, so let's go ahead and lock in our bold predictions. Everybody scoring at home, lock them in. There will be no changes, and we are set. This was an ordeal. I want to thank you all for ordealing it with us. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up to show support that you had the fortitude and the strength to get through it with us. We do appreciate that. Of course, you can find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. As always, now is a great time to join. You can get your first month for $4.99. Come check us out. That will get you all the way past the Oregon game at this point, which we've got a bunch of stuff then and leading up to that, of course, as you guys know. Of course, don't forget to check us out for the post-game show, sponsored by Tailgate USA. We will have all kinds of coverage after the game, and you can tune in at youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Like right before the game ends, show up there. We'll have everything going for you, the post-game show, post-game interviews, all of that good stuff. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.